Marcus pushed his cleaning cart through the long metal corridor of the space station. The wheels squeaked softly against the smooth floor. The station was very big and very clean, but his job was to keep it even cleaner. He moved slowly from one section to another, wiping the walls and sweeping the floors. Nobody paid attention to him. The scientists and diplomats who walked past him every day did not see him at all. They looked through him like he was not even there. This was exactly what Marcus wanted. The station floated high above the planet. Kepler 442b, it was a special place where humans and aliens met to talk and share ideas. Today was an important day because the Zeraxians were coming to show everyone their new discovery. The Zeraxians were very smart aliens with hard crystal skin that looked like glass. They controlled many planets and had very advanced technology. The human leaders were nervous and excited to see what the Zeraxians would show them. Marcus knew something that nobody else on the station knew. He was not really just a janitor. His real name was not even Marcus. It was a code name given to him by the intelligence agency back on Earth. His real job was to watch everything and report everything back home. He was called Ghost Protocol because nobody ever saw him or remembered him. He was like a ghost moving through the station, invisible to everyone around him. The station had many rooms and many corridors. Marcus had walked through all of them many times. He knew where every camera was. He knew where every door led. He knew the schedule of every person on the station. He had learned the routes of the Zeraxian visitors. He had memorized the layout of the security systems. All of this information was stored in his mind and in the tiny devices hidden inside his cleaning cart. Dr. Vincent Torres was the head of the human delegation. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. He believed that meeting with the aliens would bring peace and help humanity grow stronger. He did not know that Marcus was watching him constantly. Marcus knew everything about Dr. Torres. He knew what time the doctor woke up, what he ate for breakfast, and what secrets he kept in his private quarters. There were other humans on the station too. There was Rebecca, a young scientist who worked on communication systems. There was Kevin, a security officer who thought he was very important. There was Linda, a medical doctor who always seemed tired. Marcus had files on all of them. He knew their strengths and their weaknesses. He knew who could be trusted and who could not be trusted. The Zeraxians had brought their own security team to the station. These aliens were tall and thin, with 4 arms and eyes that glowed faintly. Their leader was named Vexthar. He was very proud and very confident. He believed that humans were simple creatures who needed to learn from superior species like the Zeraxians. Marcus had watched Vexthar walk through the station twice already. The alien commander had looked right through Marcus just like everyone else did. That morning, Marcus received a message through the tiny earpiece hidden under his collar. The message came from Earth Command, the place where his real bosses worked. The message was in code, just a few short words, but Marcus understood what it meant. Something had changed. The mission was about to become more important and more dangerous than anyone had planned. Marcus continued his cleaning work, but his mind was racing. He had been on the station for 3 months and nothing much had happened. He had gathered information about the Zeraxian technology. He had learned about their plans. He had watched them set up their equipment in the main demonstration room. Everything had seemed normal and calm, but now something was different. Earth Command did not send messages unless something important was happening. Marcus had been trained for many years by the best operatives in the world. He had learned to fight, to use weapons, to create false identities, and to disappear into crowds. Most importantly, he had learned to think. He had learned to see patterns and understand what people were really doing behind their words and actions. As Marcus cleaned a section of wall near the central hub, he heard voices speaking in the distance. He recognized one voice as Dr. Torres and another as Vexthar. The 2 leaders were talking about the demonstration. They were discussing the schedule and the details of what would happen. Marcus leaned against his cart and pretended to rest. He made himself look tired and uninterested. Any camera watching him would see only a janitor taking a break from his work. But his ears were listening to every word. Vexthar was telling Dr. Torres that the demonstration would be very impressive. He was saying that humanity would see the true power of Zeraxian science. He was saying something about a weapon system, but his words were strange. He kept using the phrase final preparation and ready for implementation. Marcus's heart beat faster, but his face showed no emotion. This was not good. The message from Earth Command suddenly made sense. Something was wrong with the Zaraxian visit. This was not a friendly demonstration. This was something else entirely. Marcus finished his cleaning work and moved to another section of the station. He had much more work to do now. He needed to gather new information. He needed to understand what Vexthar was really planning. He needed to find out if the Zaraxians were going to do something harmful to humanity, or to the station. The sun had set on planet Kepler 442b, and the station moved into its night cycle. The lights dimmed to a soft blue color. Most people went to their sleeping quarters, but Marcus did not sleep. He opened the hidden compartments in his cleaning cart and took out his equipment. He had scanning devices, recording equipment, and many other tools of his trade. Marcus moved through the empty corridors like a shadow. He had practiced this many times in training. He knew how to move without making sound. He knew how to avoid the cameras. He knew how to get past security doors using special codes that he had learned. He made his way to the central hub, the main room where the Zaraxians would do their demonstration in just a few hours. The room was dark and quiet. Marcus set up his small devices in corners where they would not be found. These devices would record everything that happened during the demonstration. They would capture every word spoken and every image shown. As Marcus worked, he thought about what might happen next. He thought about the message from Earth Command. He thought about the strange way Vexthar had spoken about their weapon system. He thought about how this simple cleaning job had suddenly become much more complicated and much more dangerous. Marcus finished his work and returned to the regular areas of the station. He put his equipment back into his cart and continued his normal duties. To anyone watching, he was just another janitor doing his job. But inside, Marcus was ready. He was ready for whatever would come next. He was ready to become something more than invisible. He was ready to become dangerous. The morning sun rose over planet Kepler 442b, and the station filled with activity. Everyone who worked there felt the importance of the day. The demonstration would happen in just a few hours. Scientists checked their equipment. Security officers reviewed their protocols. The human delegation put on their formal clothes and prepared to receive their guests. Marcus started his shift early, as he always did. He pushed his cart through the corridors and cleaned every surface with careful attention. His movements were slow and deliberate. He stopped to talk to nobody. He greeted nobody. He was just the invisible maintenance worker that everyone had learned to ignore. But inside his mind, Marcus was very busy. He was thinking about the security systems and the locations of the emergency exits. He was thinking about the fastest routes to the weapon storage and the backup power systems. He was thinking about what would happen if things went wrong during the demonstration. As noon approached, the Zaraxians arrived at the central hub with their equipment. Vexthar walked at the front of the group, his crystal skin reflecting the white lights of the station. Behind him came the other Zaraxian scientists, each one carrying some piece of their technology. The aliens moved with the confidence of beings who had never been challenged. Dr. Torres greeted Vexthar in the observation gallery above the main floor. The human leader looked nervous but tried to hide it with a professional smile. Marcus watched from across the room, pretending to adjust some ventilation grills. He noticed that Dr. Torres kept glancing at the main displays. He noticed that the doctor's hands were shaking slightly. Other humans gathered in the observation area. Rebecca stood near a communications panel, ready to record the demonstration for broadcast back to Earth. Kevin was positioned near the security station, watching carefully. Linda stood with the other support staff, ready for any medical emergency. They all looked impressed and curious about what the Zaraxians would show them. Marcus continued his work, moving closer to the central hub where the demonstration would take place. Nobody stopped him or questioned his presence. He was part of the station, part of the background, as normal as the air they breathed. He used a small device from his pocket to test the local network connections. The device looked like a maintenance tool, but it was really a powerful hacking computer. Vexthar began his speech. His voice was deep and calm, the voice of someone who had given many speeches to inferior species. He talked about the development of their new weapon system. He talked about how it could protect entire star systems from invasion. He talked about how it would change the balance of power in the galaxy. Then he said something that made Marcus's entire body go rigid. Vexthar said that the weapon had one special feature. It could disable all electromagnetic communications across a huge area of space. This meant no radio, no signals, no contact with other ships or planets. Any human forces in this region would become blind and deaf and unable to call for help. Marcus understood immediately what was happening. This was not a demonstration. This was a test. The Zeraxians were going to activate this weapon during the presentation, cutting off Earth's ability to contact this station or send reinforcements. And nobody on the station knew this except for Marcus and Earth Command. Vexthar walked to the control panel and placed his four-fingered hand on the activation switch. He explained that the demonstration would only last a few minutes, just long enough to prove that the system worked. He said it was perfectly safe and that they would restore communications right afterward. Marcus moved quickly. He could not stop Vexthar directly without revealing his true identity. But he could do something else. He had prepared for this. His small hacking device was already connected to the station's computer network through hidden pathways that he had created weeks ago. With 3 quick taps on his pocket device, Marcus activated the counter program he had prepared. This program would prevent the Zeraxian weapon from locking down the human communication systems. It would keep Earth Command in contact with the station no matter what happened. Vexthar pressed the activation switch. Immediately, the station's alarms began to scream. Red warning lights flashed everywhere. The human delegation gasped in shock. The Zeraxians seemed confused. Something was wrong with their weapon. It was not working the way they had planned. Dr. Torres rushed to the communications panel. Rebecca's hands flew across the controls. They tried to understand what was happening. The weapon was activated, but their communications were not disabled. They could still contact Earth. They could still receive messages from home. Vexthar's smooth confidence disappeared. His crystal face twisted with anger and confusion. He demanded to know what had happened. He ordered his scientists to fix the problem. But there was nothing to fix. Someone had stopped his plan. Marcus waited until the chaos had reached its highest point. Then he did something that changed everything. He stopped being invisible. He stood up straight and walked into the center of the central hub. He moved slowly and deliberately, and his hand was resting on a device at his belt. Everyone in the room turned to look at him. They saw a man in a maintenance uniform, someone that nobody had paid attention to before, walking toward their leader with perfect confidence. Marcus spoke for the first time since arriving at the station. His voice was calm and clear. He told Vexthar that he could not proceed with his plan. He told the Zeraxians that they had been stopped. He told Dr. Torres and the human delegation that they were safe. Then Marcus revealed the truth. He said that he was not a janitor. He was Ghost Protocol, an operative from Earth's intelligence agency. He had been watching the Zeraxians for months. He had learned about their weapon and their plan to disable Earth communications. The central hub went completely silent. Everyone stared at Marcus. They could not believe what they were hearing. The invisible janitor had become something far more powerful and far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Vexthar's expression changed from anger to something much more dangerous. His forearms moved slightly, preparing for an attack. The Zeraxian security team moved forward, creating a wall between Marcus and their leader. But Marcus did not move. He stood perfectly still, his hand resting calmly on his belt where several devices hung. Marcus spoke again, his voice steady and controlled. He told Vexthar that fighting would be a mistake. He said that Earth's defense forces were already on their way to the station. He explained that the moment communications were cut off, Earth Command had received the signal that something was wrong. Reinforcements were being sent at high speed and would arrive in just a few hours. This was not entirely true, but it was mostly true. Earth Command had indeed mobilized forces when the communications went down. The reinforcements would take longer than a few hours to arrive, but Vexthar did not need to know that. Marcus had learned long ago that sometimes the best weapon was not a gun, but a convincing lie delivered with perfect confidence. Vexthar's golden eyes studied Marcus carefully. The Zeraxian commander was doing calculations in his alien mind. He was weighing the costs of fighting against the costs of backing down. He was considering whether this human really had the power to do what he claimed. Dr. Torres stepped forward carefully. He was a smart man and he understood what was happening. The doctor supported Marcus even though he did not fully understand who Marcus really was. Dr. Torres told Vexithar that they should resolve this peacefully. He suggested that everyone sit down and talk like reasonable beings. Marcus added more information. He told Vexithar that he had recorded everything. All of the Zeraxian plans, all of their weapon specifications, all of their intentions to attack Earth without warning. All of this information was now in Earth's computer systems. Even if something happened to Marcus or the station, this information would be safe forever. The Zeraxian commander's crystalline body seemed to shrink slightly. He understood now that his plan had failed completely. Not only had his weapon been stopped, but his secrecy had been destroyed. Every Zeraxian secret was now in human hands. Vexthar ordered his security team to stand down. They moved back reluctantly, their alien faces showing confusion and disappointment. The Zeraxian commander turned to face Marcus directly. He wanted to know how a species he considered primitive had managed to defeat him. Marcus explained the principles that Earth had learned over thousands of years of human history. He said that humanity had learned to survive by being clever when they could not be strong. He explained that humans understood how to hide in plain sight. They understood how to use deception as a weapon. They understood that the most dangerous soldier was the one that nobody suspected. Marcus told Vexthar that the Zeraxians had made a fundamental mistake. They had assumed that because humans were less advanced in technology, humans must be less advanced in thinking. The Zeraxians had not considered that a species might use methods that did not rely on weapons or advanced machinery. The Zeraxians had not expected to be outthought by aliens they considered inferior. Kevin, the security officer, moved toward Marcus, but Marcus raised his hand calmly. Marcus told Kevin that everything was under control. He explained that this situation needed to be handled carefully and with patience. Violence would only make things worse for everyone. Rebecca began recording Marcus's words and transmitting them back to Earth. Dr. Torres created an emergency channel to broadcast this information to all human colonies and all human military forces. The message was simple. The Zeraxians had tried to attack and had failed. Earth had an operative on the station who had saved everyone. Marcus accessed his hidden communication device and received new orders from Earth Command. The military leadership had made decisions about how to proceed. Marcus was instructed to secure all of the Zeraxian weapon specifications and to keep Vexthar and his team contained on the station until reinforcements arrived. Marcus used his hacking device to lock down the Zeraxian control systems. The weapon could not be activated again. The Zeraxian scientists were locked out of their own equipment. They could not make any changes or access their programs. Vexthar protested angrily, demanding that his people be freed immediately. But Marcus remained calm and unmoved. The Zeraxian commander suddenly seemed to understand something about his situation. He realized that he was now a prisoner on a human-controlled space station. He was thousands of light years from his home and completely at the mercy of the species he had tried to attack. Marcus ordered the Zeraxians to move to a secure section of the station. The humans would provide food, water, and medical care, but the Zeraxians would remain under guard. Linda, the medical doctor, volunteered to oversee the aliens' health and comfort. She was a professional who understood that even enemies deserved proper treatment. As the Zeraxians were led away, Vexthar turned back to face Marcus one more time. The alien commander said something that surprised everyone in the room. He said that he now understood why his intelligence reports had warned him about humanity. He said that humans were more dangerous than the Zeraxians had ever believed. Marcus nodded slowly. He did not smile or show any emotion. He simply waited until all of the Zeraxians had been moved to their secure area. Then he turned to Dr. Torres and told the human leader that they needed to begin negotiations immediately. They needed to work out an agreement with the Zeraxians that would prevent future conflicts. The demonstration room became a makeshift negotiation chamber. Dr. Torres sat across from Vexthar, with Marcus standing nearby as a witness and enforcer. The conversation was difficult and tense, but progress was made. It was clear that the balance of power had shifted dramatically. Marcus's earpiece received another message from Earth Command. The military forces were moving faster than expected. They would arrive in 6 hours instead of 12. This news gave Marcus more confidence as he continued to work with Dr. Torres on the negotiations. For the first time since his arrival at the station, Marcus allowed himself a tiny smile. The mission was not complete, but the most dangerous part was over. The invisible janitor had revealed himself, and in doing so, he had protected his entire species from a hidden threat. Now the real work of peace-building could begin. The negotiations continued through the night. Both sides were tired, but neither wanted to stop. Vexthar and Dr. Torres argued about every detail. The Zeraxian commander insisted that his people had not intended to harm anyone. He claimed that the weapon test was simply a demonstration of capability. Nothing more sinister than that. Dr. Torres would not accept this explanation. The human leader pointed out that cutting off communications was an aggressive act by any definition. Disabling a station's ability to call for help was a clear preparation for attack. There was no reasonable way to interpret the Zeraxian actions as anything less than hostile. Marcus sat in the corner and watched carefully. His mind was analyzing every word spoken and every gesture made. He was looking for signs of deception, signs of hidden plans, signs of weakness that could be exploited. This was what he had been trained to do for his entire adult life. Around midnight, Vexthar made an important statement. The Zeraxian commander admitted that the weapon test was indeed meant to demonstrate the Zeraxians' military superiority. He explained that the Zeraxians had been concerned about humanity's rapid advancement. The aliens feared that humans might become a threat to Zeraxian interests in this region of space, so they had decided to establish dominance by showing that they could disable human communication systems at will. It was a moment of honesty, rare and valuable in negotiations between species who did not trust each other. Vexthar explained that if humans could be kept isolated and unable to call for help, then the Zeraxians could dominate them economically and politically. The weapon was meant to be a tool of control, not a tool of destruction. Dr. Torres responded with his own honesty. He said that humanity had feared something similar. He explained that humans had worried the Zeraxians might try to use their advanced technology to control human territories and human resources. This fear had driven Earth's government to create operatives like Marcus, people trained to work secretly and protect human interests. This exchange seemed to change something in the negotiation. Both leaders now understood that the conflict had grown from fear, not from evil intention. Both sides were trying to protect their people from what they believed was a potential threat. Vexthar asked Marcus directly why he had revealed himself at that particular moment. The Zeraxian commander wanted to know what Marcus was trying to achieve. Marcus explained that he had received intelligence that the weapon would be activated. He had prevented the activation because allowing Earth to be isolated would put humans at a terrible disadvantage. But he had not revealed himself just to stop the weapon. He had revealed himself to make sure that Earth would be taken seriously in future negotiations. The Zeraxian commander seemed to understand this. He nodded his head slowly, a gesture that the translation device converted into a sign of respect among his species. Vexthar said that he now recognized humans as a worthy species, one that thought strategically and acted with purpose. Dr. Torres seized the moment. He proposed that the two species establish a formal treaty. He suggested that both humans and Zeraxians commit to peaceful relations and open communication. He recommended that they create a joint committee to discuss technological sharing and economic cooperation. Vexthar was hesitant at first. The Zeraxian commander worried that accepting a treaty would be seen as weakness by his people. But Marcus pointed out something important. He said that appearing weak to one's own people was better than actually being weak in the eyes of the galaxy. A species that could negotiate successfully with a potential enemy was more impressive than a species that could only threaten and intimidate. The logic was clear. Vexthar agreed to the basic principles of a treaty. He said that he would present this agreement to the Zeraxian government, but he warned that the process would take time. Zeraxian society moved slowly when it came to making major decisions. As dawn approached on planet Kepler 442b, the negotiation began to wind down. Both Dr. Torres and Vexthar looked exhausted. Their formal clothes were wrinkled. Their faces were tired, but both men seemed satisfied that progress had been made. Rebecca continued to record everything for transmission to Earth. Kevin supervised the security arrangements to keep everyone safe during the negotiations. Linda brought food and water to ensure that both humans and Zeraxians could maintain their strength. Marcus made sure that all of the weapon specifications remained secure in his control. He had created multiple backup copies of all the data and sent them to Earth through encrypted channels. Even if something happened to him or the station, the knowledge of Zeraxian weapons technology would be safe forever. Vexthar asked Marcus about his training and his background. The Zeraxian commander seemed genuinely curious about how humans had developed such advanced espionage techniques. Marcus explained that humans had been practicing deception and subterfuge for thousands of years. He said that war and politics on Earth had taught humans to think like predators, even when their technology was primitive. The Zeraxians, Marcus explained, had relied so heavily on their superior technology that they had stopped thinking about lower-tech solutions. They had forgotten that the most dangerous enemy was the one you did not see coming. They had underestimated the power of a single trained operative working quietly in the background. Vexthar seemed to take this lesson to heart. He began asking questions about human military tactics and human diplomatic strategies. Dr. Torres answered many of these questions, explaining human history and human psychology. It was becoming clear that both sides were beginning to see each other as capable and intelligent beings, worthy of respect. As the sun rose higher over planet Kepler 442b, the first phase of the crisis came to an end. The weapon was disabled. The Zeraxians were under controlled custody. Communications with Earth had been maintained. And, most importantly, negotiations were beginning to create a framework for lasting peace. Marcus received a final message from Earth Command. The military reinforcements would arrive in 4 hours. When they arrived, a new phase of the situation would begin. But for now, Marcus allowed himself to rest. He had accomplished what he had been sent to do. The invisible janitor had saved his entire species from a threat they had not even known existed. The human military reinforcements arrived exactly as predicted. 3 large warships entered orbit around planet Kepler 442b and took positions near the space station. The commanding officer was Admiral Patricia Hayes, a woman with decades of military experience and a reputation for making quick decisions. Admiral Hayes received a full briefing from Dr. Torres. The situation was explained clearly. The Zeraxians had attempted to disable Earth communications as a show of force. Marcus had stopped the attack using covert methods, and negotiations were already underway to create a peace agreement between the two species. The Admiral was surprised but pleased with the outcome. She understood immediately the intelligence advantage that Marcus had gained by staying in contact with Earth Command, while the Zeraxians thought they had achieved communications blackout. This advantage would give humanity significant leverage in any future negotiations. Marcus was brought to the Admiral's command ship for a full debriefing. He spent hours explaining every detail of his mission, his methods, and his findings. He described the weapon system in precise technical terms. He explained how he had predicted the Zeraxian actions. He outlined the security vulnerabilities he had discovered in the station systems. Admiral Hayes listened carefully and asked many questions. At the end of the debriefing, she told Marcus that he had performed an exceptional service to humanity. She said that what Marcus had done had protected not just the station but potentially billions of people back on Earth. The Admiral offered Marcus a promotion and the opportunity to lead a new division of intelligence operatives, but Marcus declined the offer. He explained that he worked best in the field, not in an office. He said that his talent was for disappearing into environments and gathering information from positions that seemed harmless and insignificant. He preferred to remain a field operative rather than become an administrator. Admiral Hayes accepted his decision. She understood that some people were meant to work alone, hidden from public view and recognition. She told Marcus that whenever Earth needed him to take on a dangerous assignment, he should be ready. Meanwhile, Dr. Torres and Vexthar continued their negotiations, now with the knowledge that Earth had military backup. The presence of the human warships seemed to impress the Zeraxian commander. He became more willing to make concessions. He agreed that the weapon system would be dismantled and that Zeraxian forces would withdraw from disputed territories. In exchange, Earth agreed to recognize Zeraxian claims to certain mining regions and to establish joint research programs in areas where both species might benefit from cooperation. It was a compromise that satisfied neither side completely, but that both sides could accept as reasonable. Rebecca documented all of the negotiations and broadcast the information throughout the galaxy. Within days, other alien species heard about the conflict and its peaceful resolution. Many species began to view humanity differently. Some saw humans as cunning negotiators who had outmaneuvered a stronger opponent. Others saw humans as potential allies who could help balance power among the various civilizations. Kevin supervised the dismantling of the Zeraxian weapon system. Zeraxian scientists and human engineers worked together to break the weapon into its component parts. The process took several days and required great care to ensure that nothing dangerous was activated by mistake. Linda worked with Zeraxian medical personnel to ensure that the aliens held in custody remained healthy and comfortable. She discovered that despite their physical differences, Zeraxians and humans had many biological similarities. Both species needed food and water. Both species experienced pain and illness. Both species could experience compassion when given the opportunity. As the days passed and the situation became more stable, Marcus began planning his next assignment. Earth Command had already identified other locations where human intelligence operatives were needed. There were other alien species to monitor and other potential threats to evaluate. Vexthar requested a private meeting with Marcus before the Zeraxian delegation departed the station. In this meeting, the alien commander made an unexpected proposal. He asked if Marcus would consider becoming a consultant to the Zeraxian government. He said that the Zeraxians wanted to understand human military thinking and human tactical strategies better. Marcus declined politely. He explained that his loyalty was to humanity, and that working for another species would create conflicts of interest. But he offered a different suggestion. He said that humans and Zeraxians might create a joint intelligence program where operatives from both species would work together to identify and prevent conflicts in the future. Thayer was interested in this idea. He said he would present it to his government and request their thoughts. For the first time, there was genuine warmth in the Zeraxian commander's voice when he spoke to Marcus. Vexthar said that he had come to respect Marcus as an individual, not merely as an alien of inferior species. The day came for the Zeraxians to depart the station. They had loaded their weapon components and their equipment onto their ships. The peace treaty had been signed by representatives of both species. Diplomatic channels between humanity and Zeraxi had been formally established. Marcus stood in the observation deck and watched as the Zeraxian ships prepared for departure. Vexthar stood nearby, also watching his ships through the transparent aluminium walls of the station. The Zeraxian commander turned to Marcus one final time. He said that he would remember this day for the rest of his life. He said that his expectations had been proven completely wrong, and that this was a humbling but valuable experience. Vexthar told Marcus that wherever their paths crossed again in the universe, he hoped it would be as an ally and not as an enemy. Marcus accepted the sentiment with a solemn nod. He understood that this moment represented something important. Two species who had started as enemies were parting as something close to friends, or at least as mutual respecters. The Zeraxian ships engaged their engines and moved away from the station. They accelerated toward their hyperspace jump point and disappeared into the vast darkness of space. The crisis was truly over. Dr. Torres approached Marcus in the observation deck. The human leader thanked Marcus for everything he had done. He asked Marcus how long he would remain on the station before returning to Earth. Marcus replied that his mission was complete and that he would depart on the next ship heading back to human space. But before he left, Marcus wanted to return to his old job. He asked Dr. Torres for permission to work as a maintenance technician for a few more days. The doctor was puzzled by this request but agreed to it. Marcus simply said that he felt comfortable with that work and that it helped him think about his next assignment. So Marcus returned to his cart and his cleaning supplies. He pushed the cart through the corridors of the space station, wiping walls and sweeping floors. He was visible to everyone but invisible in their minds. He was once again just the maintenance worker that people looked through without truly seeing. But the Kepler station incident had changed everything. Humanity had proven itself capable. Earth's leaders had shown that they could negotiate effectively. And Marcus had demonstrated that in a universe filled with advanced technology and physical power, intelligence and cunning were sometimes the greatest weapons of all. 3 weeks later, Marcus sat in a secure office deep inside Earth's intelligence headquarters. The building was hidden beneath a mountain, protected by layers of security that most people on Earth did not even know existed. His handler, A woman named Grace sat across from him at a metal desk covered with classified documents. Grace reviewed Marcus's file from the Kepler station mission. She read through his reports, his tactical assessments, and his recommendations for future operations. Her face showed no emotion as she read, but Marcus could see the slight nod of approval when she reached the parts where he had predicted Vexthar's actions before they happened. Grace told Marcus that his mission had been rated as one of the most successful intelligence operations in Earth's history. She said that the information he had gathered about Zeraxian technology was already being analyzed by Earth's best engineers and scientists. The weapons data alone would help humanity defend itself for at least another century. More importantly, Grace explained, the successful outcome of the Kepler station incident had changed how other alien species viewed humanity. Several species that had previously considered Earth a minor civilization were now viewing humans as intelligent and capable beings, worthy of respect and formal relations. Marcus listened to this information calmly. He had done his job well. That was what mattered to him. He did not care about medals or public recognition, because public recognition was the opposite of what Ghost Protocol operatives wanted. Success meant remaining invisible. Grace then opened a new folder on her desk. Inside were photographs and technical specifications of another space station. This station orbited a planet called Vegan Prime, in a region of space controlled by the Venorian species. The Venorians were even more advanced than the Zeraxians, and they were far less friendly to alien visitors. Grace explained that Earth's diplomats were scheduled to visit the Venorian station in 2 weeks. The mission would be similar to the Kepler operation, but more dangerous. The Venorians had a reputation for eliminating spies and operatives from other species. They believed that espionage was a crime deserving of death. Grace asked Marcus if he was willing to accept this assignment. She made it clear that this would be the most dangerous operation of his career. She said that he should consider it carefully before making his decision. There was a real possibility that he would not come back alive. Marcus studied the Venorian station specifications. He asked technical questions about security systems and personnel arrangements. He wanted to understand every detail before committing himself to the mission. After an hour of discussion, Marcus agreed to accept the assignment. He said that he had been trained for difficult situations and that he believed he could succeed. He asked when his cover identity would be prepared and when he would need to depart for Vegan Prime. Grace smiled, though it was a grim smile that showed no joy. She said that Marcus's cover identity was already being created. He would be a food service specialist for the diplomatic mission. He would work in the station's kitchens and dining areas, preparing food and cleaning up after meals. Nobody paid attention to food service workers, just as nobody paid attention to janitors. It was the perfect cover for a Ghost Protocol operative. Over the next 2 weeks, Marcus studied the Venorian culture, language, and customs. He learned about their physical biology and their psychological weaknesses. He memorized the layout of the Vegan Prime station using holographic models. He practiced his cover identity until it became second nature. He was given new equipment, more advanced than what he had used on Kepler station. His new devices could hack into Venorian computer systems more efficiently. They could record and transmit data with better encryption. They could even defend him if he needed to fight his way out of dangerous situations. During this preparation period, Marcus received a message from Dr. Torres. The human diplomat wanted to thank Marcus again for his service and to let him know that the peace treaty with the Zeraxians had been formally ratified by all governments on Earth. Humanity was now officially at peace with the Zeraxian species and had established full diplomatic relations. Dr. Torres also mentioned that the combined Earth-Zeraxian intelligence committee that Marcus had proposed was being discussed seriously by both governments. There was a possibility that Marcus himself might be asked to work with Zeraxian operatives in future missions. Marcus was surprised by this news, but he understood why it made sense. If humans and Zeraxians could work together, they could accomplish things that neither species could accomplish alone. On the day of departure, Marcus boarded a military transport ship that would carry him and the diplomatic team to Vegan Prime. He was dressed in the uniform of a food service worker. His equipment was hidden inside containers of kitchen supplies. To anyone observing his departure, he was simply another support staff member, preparing to serve the diplomatic delegation. As the transport ship left Earth's atmosphere and accelerated toward the Venorian station, Marcus thought about the differences between Ghost Protocol work and normal military service. Soldiers fought in open combat where everyone could see them and know what was happening, but Ghost Protocol operatives worked in the shadows. They fought battles that nobody knew were happening. The Venorian station grew larger as the transport ship approached. It was a massive structure, far larger than the Kepler station. It had more security systems and more sophisticated defenses. The Venorians were not taking any chances with their security. Marcus mentally prepared himself for what was coming. He would need to work quickly and carefully. The Venorians were more dangerous than the Xeraxians. The margin for error was even smaller than before. As the transport ship docked with the Venorian station, Marcus felt the familiar calm that always came before a dangerous operation. His training took over. His mind became clear and focused. His emotions were suppressed and controlled. A Venorian official entered the transport ship to greet the Earth diplomatic team. The alien was a humanoid creature with pale skin and large black eyes. The Venorian spoke in a voice that sounded cold and mechanical. Marcus remained silent and invisible, unloading kitchen equipment from the cargo hold. The Venorian official looked directly at him but seemed to see nothing. The operative was already becoming a ghost. Dr. Torres and the other diplomats were led away to their quarters. Marcus was taken to the kitchen areas of the station by a Venorian staff supervisor. His new home would be a small room near the food preparation areas. The Venorian supervisor told Marcus that the kitchen staff worked long hours and had little free time. They were monitored constantly. They were not allowed to explore other sections of the station. They were not allowed to contact anyone outside the kitchen. Marcus accepted these restrictions without complaint. This was exactly what he expected. That night, alone in his small room, Marcus set up his equipment and made first contact with Earth Command. He transmitted a coded message confirming that he had arrived safely and that his cover was intact. He received instructions to wait for 48 hours before beginning his intelligence-gathering operations. Marcus lay in his bed and thought about the future. He thought about how Ghost Protocol operatives lived lives that nobody would ever know about. They made sacrifices that went unrecognized. They protected their species from threats that other people never heard about. But this was the life that Marcus had chosen. This was what it meant to be an invisible guardian. This was what it meant to be Ghost Protocol. Outside the small window of his room, Marcus could see the vast emptiness of space. Somewhere out there were planets and stations and civilizations. Somewhere out there were threats to humanity's survival. And somewhere out there, operatives like Marcus would continue working in the shadows, protecting their species by doing things that could never be discussed or celebrated. The mission was beginning. The invisible janitor was about to become a ghost in a new place among new aliens, facing new dangers. But Marcus was ready. He had always been ready. That was what Ghost Protocol meant.